Welcome back, friends. You are watching Tactical Enlightenment, and in today's episode, we are going to cover the fundamentals of siege defense. Now, as it turns out, I've learned that you have an awful lot of control over many aspects of siege defense as the commander. Of course, we all know that you can position your troops and move guys around, but there's all kinds of things that I've learned about this game in the past 2 years that I think would be highly valuable to either new players or even fairly experienced players in Siege. Over the course of several dozen Epic Siege series, we've covered all kinds of tactics and other nuances, but I'm hoping that this can be sort of the definitive Bible on siege defense. By no means is this the complete summary of every single possible thing you can do on siege defense, but I think this is going to cover the vast majority of things you'll need. So strap yourself in, prepare for some epic siege, and I hope I can teach you fellas a few things. Alright friends, welcome back again to another episode of Tactical Enlightenment. This YouTube channel is dedicated to all things Bannerlord related, but especially advanced field command and battlefield tactics. And in today's special episode covering defensive siege, we are going to look very close at a castle defense. We're actually going to be looking at a low-level castle defense. And what I'm going to show you are basically 4 different parts of this episode, explaining essentially the easiest way to defend a castle, the second easiest way, then we'll analyze the AI butchering a castle defense. Finally, I will show you how I defend the same castle under the same circumstances, and I'll let you choose which you think is the best route to go. So actually, before we begin, there's something I want to cover quick. This will just take a minute. A lot of people say, hey, I can't get so-and-so kingdom to attack me. I'm sitting in here waiting in this castle and they won't attack. How the hell do I get these guys to siege me, right? You guys are out there looking for epic siege, and just like this army here, they're just walking right by you and you're left blue-balled and frustrated, wondering why the fuck they won't give you any action. Well, I'm going to basically explain it. The AI is running around the battlefield and it's assessing different situations, and if you have too many defenders inside the castles, it knows it can't win, and so what it's going to do is basically choose another target of opportunity, right? Just like in the open field, if you outnumber them, they'll simply avoid you. So here's how you get around it, right? Let them siege, and if you want to have your epic siege, go up and say, I want to break in to join the defenders. Look, we lose 28 troops, but now you're inside the citadel and that army is committed. Now there's a caveat to this, right? Every once in a while the enemy will leave, but more often what happens is they will try to starve you out in this situation, right? They're doing some new assessments, and you can see the power bar here almost favors us. The AI is like, well, I liked it a moment ago, you know, when there was only 300 people in this castle to attack. Now I don't like it so much. So you got to be careful in this situation, or at least not careful, but be aware that if they have roughly the same amount of troops, they may not engage. Now, fortunately, it looks like this Britannian army has some additional reinforcements coming, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to attack, right? Again, the odds are just barely in their favor, and so it's very possible they end up just lobbing catapult rounds at your walls and frustrating you, leaving you without your epic siege. This is definitely something that can happen to you. Now, how do you avoid this? One of the ways is you can let them already be actively engaged in siege, as in the numbers going down, like between the attacker and the defender. That means they're actually assaulting the citadel. If you then enter the citadel at that stage, you will then be in a siege for sure. The enemy is committed at that stage, even if you wildly outnumber the enemy at that stage. Alright, so on to our actual castle defense here for this episode. We are going to be defending Veron Castle in this episode, and it's actually a level 1 castle, right? So this is the kind of castle you might defend, a week into the game or a month into the game, right? It's very weak walls, a relatively weak defense system, a small amount of militia, and a decent-sized garrison. Now, what I'm going to show you is effectively the easiest way to defend a castle. Again, some people consider this cheese or an exploit. It's part of the game system though, so it's not like we're actually using a cheat code here. This is just how the game is designed. Now notice that Battanian army, of course, is rolling right by us, and this Valandian force is fucking stacked. I mean, that is a powerful force, right? They have a huge amount of sharpshooters and banner knights. This is going to be a very difficult battle. Now I better show you our army. This army will be the same for all the same episodes, right? We're just reloading a save game. You can see there's a nice amount of Battanian Fiends as part of the garrison and some elite troops, but there's also some mediocre troops. It's kind of an average mix of troops. And you can see that it's archer heavy, right? I would suggest that for castle defense, maybe a 2-to-1 ratio of archers to infantry. Of course, cavalry aren't on horse, so they just become infantry. You can see my main army here is also kind of a mix, all kinds of different quality of troops. Some are less quality, right? Some of these guys are fairly mediocre. All right, so we'll do some upgrades here. I'll have to do that from the party menu. And what we're going to be doing this first portion of it is we're going to use the auto resolve. I'm going to be doing this for all of these little portions. I'll try to blaze through this, and that's because I want the integrity of these battles to be the same. In other words, even though you're going to see we get very different results, I want these battles to be virtually identical, right? So I'm showing you sort of the process of how we're besieged, building siege weapons and whatnot. And by the way, building siege weapons is up to you most of the time, and it's very important that you build fire catapults, right? You want to build fire catapults right here at the gate so that you can chuck down fire catapults on the guys at the gate and the ladders to the two sides. You can also build other siege weapons, but generally I recommend fire catapults first. Now you cannot build fire catapults unless your siege skill is 150 or above. Well, I beg your pardon, it could be your engineer or you, 150 or above. This perk here allows you to build fire catapults, and to me, it's vital that you have this perk for good siege defense. If you don't have this perk, then you just get the standard rocks, and they do way less damage than the fire catapults, right? This Greek fire, or whatever the fuck else it's modeled after. It actually looks like more Valandian forces are joining the battle here, which is good, right? We don't want a walk in the park battle here today, but this is going to be anything but a walk in the park. Look at these armies, right? 146 sharpshooters this gal has, and a bunch of other crossbow. So this army we're facing is actually archer heavy, and that is actually going to prove another point I'm going to make in this episode. You're not going to be able to defend your castles in Bannerlord very often like they did back in the old times where you would put archers on the wall. By the way, we'll cover sallying out at some point, but we're not going to be talking about that. And you can also leave a siege as well, but we're not going to talk too much about either of those in this episode. The sallying out actually might be part of another episode. I don't want this episode to be 3 hours. All right, so you can see we're building catapults, and we're actually engaged in a little catapult play here before the battle. The enemy's building a ram. In fact, these dipshits are attacking before their ram is even built. That's okay. For the second one of these demonstrations, we'll need for them to have a ram. Otherwise, it basically we don't even need to make that portion of the episode. But what I'm going to show you now is the auto resolve. Right here, you just say send troops, and basically you let the computer play. Now, unfortunately, and obviously we'll be on normal player damage this whole Bannerlord difficulty. Unfortunately, this is highly successful. The reason I say that's unfortunate is that siege defense is fun, and I don't think it makes a lot of sense that just turning it over to the auto resolve makes it this successful. We just crushed this Valandian force. All their nobles are shocked. You saw the power bar, right? They were heavily favored, and we auto resolve it, and all these guys become our prisoners. We marry off their wives to cousins and whatnot, and that battle is over. So that is the easiest way, I think, the easiest way. Some people say cheese to defeat an enemy. You just use the auto resolve. You get all their loot. Everybody lives happily ever after. You can see we have 100 survivors. Basically 70% of our troops were knocked out, and the rest survived. So that's probably the easiest way to win a siege. All right, so this second run here, hopefully these dipshits actually build a ram. Otherwise, we won't actually be able to destroy it for this second part of it. But what we're basically going to show you now is a way to fight the actual battle, but heavily disable their ability to win. Now, this is not a guaranteed route to victory because there's a possibility you don't end up succeeding in destroying their ram. Of course, if that's the case, you're in trouble because they'll have a ram up and your primary strategy to stop the enemy will have failed. That said, I'm going to show you how to do that in this second siege here, and also basically try to speed through some of this siege here. This is half simulation. I'm not going to be like playing things out completely, but effectively show you what happens when you destroy their ram. Of course, we'll be taking a little closer look at this castle. And again, some people sort of consider this cheese as well. This is a game, folks. You know, you guys should be out there having fun playing this. Who gives a fuck if someone thinks it's cheese, right? If you're having a good time, that's all that matters. I don't even care if you guys are using cheat codes. Whatever it takes, man. Use a mod that makes you fucking flame lightning bolts out of your ass. If you're having fun, that's all that matters. That said, just understand that this option, after using the auto resolve, is probably the easiest and most effective way to disable an enemy attack. In some ways, of course, this is exploiting the AI, but also to me, so is auto resolve, right? You should not be that successful just using the AI, but you are, right? So here we are. We've got our castle, and again, it's level 1, so it has these pathetic little short walls. It's almost like the masonry guys were all drunk and spent a couple weekends building this pathetic castle here. However, the landscape it's on is perfect for defense. Now notice where the catapult is, right? We don't want it all the way over there. We actually want it over the gatehouse, right? Because we want to be able to fire both catapults down at the ram, but also in the event that they're using the ladders, to throw those fireballs on top of the enemy. Again, you need that 150 siege perk to have that skill, you or your engineer, right? Early on, if you don't want to focus on leadership and engineering skills, make sure you have a companion that's good at that. So I'm going to run up here. I'm going to man this fire catapult, I guess they're called. I don't know the difference between an onager and a fire catapult. Maybe one's bigger or something like that. Maybe that's fucking Turkish for catapult or something like that. But we're going to man this here, and then we're going to pound out of the way. I'm getting shot. We're going to pound this ram with our catapult. Now, catapult takes some skill to use. You gotta use that red bar in front there, which is basically the distance that the fireball goes. Well, how funny is that? I just got smoked, I think, by a ballista. 303 damage. All right, we're just gonna roll with it. Fuck it. I can't find any other companions either, so I'm gonna assume this dipshit here, this crossbowman or whatever the fuck he is, and we're gonna get right back on our catapult here. That can definitely happen, right? When you take control of siege equipment, especially if you're somewhat vulnerable and the enemy gets a lucky shot like that, of course you can get killed. You can get blown up by siege catapults and all kinds of shit. That's just par for the course. I think I've got enough time here. Out of my way, motherfucker. And the ram is just dead in sight. And what you're looking for is the big number. Okay, so the big number on the bottom there, the upper small number, that is probably us hitting a troop, or maybe we hit like one of the defensive objects out there. But that 2,000 damage, that was to the ram. Okay, that shot, it looks like we missed, but it won't take too many more shots with this fire catapult to destroy the ram. Now, fire catapults are the most destructive single siege item you can use. Actually, maybe there's trebuchets on the offensive side, but as far as on defense, look at that, almost 2,000 damage again to that ram. And when I hold down the tab button, you can see that ram is almost kindling. So one more good shot here, one more shot true to form. We dial it in here. And indeed, it makes a weird little sound there. They all come rushing up because their ram is now kindling. A few guys grab pieces of the ram and start building their hut when they anticipate winning this siege. But they're not going to win, right? Because we're going to rain these fireballs down on their asses as they're coming up. Now, they're already using the ladders. And of course, they have to use the ladders, right? Because we've destroyed their ram. Now, these dipshits weren't smart enough to bring 2 rams. That's not a thing, as far as I know, that the AI will ever actually bring 2 rams. In fact, I don't know if you can have 2 rams. I know you certainly can't have them on the battlefield at the same time. But nevertheless, the AI here has 1 ram, and so now they're compelled strictly to use these ladders. And look at the slaughter pen there. As soon as these guys get up the ladders, Manavliatons and whatnot, maul them. The archers in the courtyard here, this is the AI control, by the way. I didn't tell you that. I didn't set up any of these troops. This is just the AI. I just hit, okay, go, right? It's basically autoplay. The AI is doing a decent job of putting some skirmishers and archers back there to support the guys on the walls here. And because the enemy is forced to come up these ladders, the enemy is really in a slaughter pen. Now, I'm just going to speed this up, right? You guys don't need to watch this whole process. I'm just going to kind of keep chucking these off here so that this is a valid test. I think I can do this at max speed. I'm running around here trying not to get killed. We're using the RTS mod to speed it up like this. Oh, shit, this guy's trying to beat me. Come on, man, don't beat me. I'm fucking trying to run an experiment here. All right, this guy evidently likes science. He's all about experiments. So now what we're going to do is observe the rest of this siege, or maybe not the rest of it, but a few minutes, right? The enemy is in a total slaughter pen. Because the ram is destroyed, the enemy AI is not smart enough to back out and build another ram or think of something else. Instead, they send their guys up these ladders over and over and over again, just like the Battle of the Somme in World War I, or so many other battles where dipshit, theoretically intelligent people said, you know, we got this game plan, we're just going to go and charge the machine guns over and over again. You know, AI and human intelligence aren't necessarily that far apart sometimes. So you see they're just pouring over the ladders here, and they have absolutely no chance, right? The AI on defense is doing a pretty good job of putting some troops there. Now, in fact, I'm going to max this speed out here to push this along. The AI is doing a pretty good job there of putting some troops on the wall to sort of slow down the enemy, and the ranged units are doing the rest, right? You see most of the death spam are actually from archers in the courtyard, which, by the way, is a hint of how we're going to defend this castle. Incidentally, I was mentioning it before, this castle has one of the best defense layouts of all the castles, even at tier level 1, right? I was making fun of these dipshit masonry guys earlier for building these pathetic little 10-foot crumbly rock walls, but it just so happens with the mechanics of Bannerlord that this is basically one of the best defensive formations or fortresses in the game, right? You see the enemies rushing up, a bunch of cracked out fucking shock troops and whatnot. It doesn't matter. Although, whoops, look at the AI has failed to guard the gate here. So again, I'm just letting the AI go, and we'll see what they do here. It does look like they're putting on a good charge, at least to the guys who came through the gate. I'm also going to show you how to deal with this. I might even micromanage a little bit. I don't think I need to. It looks like they closed it up. It's kind of a scrum. It was highly messy, so if you're just playing as a sergeant in this battle, you're like, what the fuck is this? In fact, what you want to do is you want to take units here in a square and put them right at the gate. Those guys will keep the gate closed, and of course a square will be highly defensible there. In fact, we'll help the AI out a little bit here. It's butchering things. We will spread these archers out over the whole courtyard. That way they have a really good line of sight for every single guy coming into this castle. These guys coming over the ladders get smoked by 150 archers. Now there's a big square at the gate. So I know I said I was going to let the AI take over, but it looked like they were going to lose this battle and butcher it. And you will experience that, right? If you play as the sergeant in a siege like this, it's very possible that if you let the AI do everything in this same scenario, even though the auto-resolve would have won it for you, if you play the siege out, your AI on defense will do dipshit stuff. You'll be wondering why the fuck you voted that guy into office, just like a lot of people in today's political world. And bad things will happen to you. Now, it does look like this secondary little adjustment I've made by piling up guys at the gate in a square and putting archers in the courtyard is going to hold out. But we'll just kind of run this along for a couple minutes. I do want to mention that in our Epic Siege series, I am basically scouring the lands of Calradia. I've probably looked at every single castle in the entire game. Like, I've gone to them physically and checked them out. They do vary a little bit depending on what level, what tier they are, so I can't say I've seen every variation, but I've scouted scores of castles for the Epic Siege series, and a lot of the most interesting castles I've been able to get the enemy to attack us, right? We take a castle in the middle of enemy territory and then they attack us. So we have all kinds of different, essentially tutorials. They're a combination of tutorials and hopefully entertainment as I cuss my way through these various castle defenses. We do some swearing, F-bombing, beat some guys over the heads, we cut them to pieces with our axe, and hopefully you guys get both entertained and also shown which castles are good for defense. Okay, so the AI here was successful. A little bit of help from us, right? We did probably just enough assistance there to help the AI win. But you see, the second easiest way to defend a castle in this situation is simply to destroy their ram. If you can destroy their ram, hopefully with siege and with fire catapults, you can have tremendous results, right? We lost 250 troops. All right, so we're reloaded one more time here, and this time we're going to try a little bit different. We're going to allow effectively the enemy to bring a ram up, or maybe even a siege tower if they build that. And I'm going to show you essentially some of the faults of the AI in keep defense, right? We're going to actually do some more instructional stuff on various things within keep defense. I'm basically going to show you a little bit more of this siege. I'll probably speed it up at times, but I want to show you sort of some of the foundational ideas that I have for defending this castle siege. So all the rest of this, of course, is the same process we've been using before. Hopefully this full 2,000 Valandian, yeah, they're all coming again. The AI typically, once they're sort of programmed to do something, they keep doing it, right? So I'm just reloading this save game, and the AI is continuing to exhibit the same behavior. So hopefully they build a ram. They have built a ram. And in fact, skipping the foreplay here right onto siege, right? So this battle, we're not going to destroy their ram, right? You can destroy their ram. It's not always easy, but this battle, we're effectively going to try to target their units with fireballs and do damage to their troops and see what kind of a defense the AI will make with the ram actually blowing the doors out. Now, notice where the fire catapult is, right? Over in this location, it's pretty vulnerable, right? Now, I'm not going to fiddle with these troops. I'm not going to really get too deep into the weeds on this episode again. In fact, we're going to do a lot of this kind of fast speed here. We're going to just kind of move through some of the foreplay of the early part of this battle. In fact, we'll slow it down at times here just so I can figure out how to fucking move around. Can't access the clan menu right now. Okay. But what we're going to show in this battle is effectively the danger of letting the AI. Now, we still may win this battle, but I think it's going to be a lot harder if they get a ram up here. This is an incredibly powerful Valandian force. And again, here's something else we can show you. Look at how difficult it is if you don't position your catapult in the right spot, right? This enemy is scorching us so bad that I can't even fucking get on that thing. In fact, I'm just barely able to get on it and turn it without getting killed. And I don't think these guys are in range. Even at the minimum distance here, I can only hit one guy, right? So it's not very effective. In fact, with these fireballs, I would say anytime you kill less than 4, 5, 6 guys with these fireballs, it's a detriment, right? It's a bad shot, right? Oh, so you can see these guys have great line of sight on me, so we'll let these other dipshits run that thing. Fortunately, that guy's got good armor there. But we're gonna play this episode a little different. Again, the ram's coming up. We're not gonna try to destroy that. In fact, because of our catapult positioning, because I didn't take my time and position it, you can see that other guy got killed already. We're going to speed this up a little bit. We're basically going to show you the dangers of these little mistakes, right? So the catapult's in the wrong spot. I'm punching the air. Things are not going well here. Of course, we're on 3x speed right now. You can still throw these fireballs, and I'm kind of firing them into the midst of those archers because I can't hit those guys any other way, right? So relative to what we were doing before, this has at least some benefit. These fireballs, whether they're thrown or catapulted, both of them are tremendously valuable to you as a commander. Now, it does look like they're rushing up here to put the ladders, and I'm not going to slow this down too much and waste your time a lot, but watch the difference here, right? If you have all these guys here, you're firing your catapult in there and you're killing a guy, and then the guy's got to wind it. You both have to wind your winch. You're still winding your winches. Then the dipshit's running over to where the catapults are. He's getting, you're dialing in the aim of it. And by the time you've done that, I've killed 100 guys. These guys that are on their ladder here, should be something that you're automatically doing. And I have learned that this has to do a lot with your throwing skill. If you have a higher throwing skill, you do more damage with these fireballs. I guess you're firing this Greek fire into the enemy faster or some shit like that. And we killed, I don't know, 130 troops there in like 8 seconds, almost before you could reload a catapult. So don't worry, if you can't position your catapult well, you can at least still kill some troops. Now look at what the AI is doing here, right? Instead of a square, they just have a handful of guys kind of clogging the gate there. This is one of the weaknesses of the AI. It's effectively charging the gate, right? It's putting guys right at the gate, and then as soon as the enemy gets in, it's having those guys charge. I think this is a failed strategy. Now, these rocks are something else I want to mention, right? I'm going to actually watch this guy do it. Your AI units will do it. Come on, dude, get over there. You know, they'll look for targets of opportunities and chuck down rocks. What the fuck? They both just dropped their rocks like cowards. It might be that the enemy's just pouring into the courtyard. But these rocks here are tremendously valuable. I know you veteran players are like, shut the fuck up. I know about the rocks. I'm doing my best here to make this episode basically comprehensive, enough to help some of the brand new players, relatively new players, and then the veteran players. Hopefully there's some things you can glean out of this still. Now, I'm going to try to help the AI a little bit here. Otherwise, I think this is just a disaster. For some reason or other, the AI is not defending the gate at all. They have nobody at the gate. So we're going to just split a few units here. Incidentally, if you want to do that on your PC, it's F1 and F3, and that gives you the ability to sort of spread your units out into multiple divisions. Instead of having 2 gigantic divisions, now we have 4. It's still suboptimal here. I got a traffic jam. There's guys running all over the place. I'm not quite certain what kind of seizure the AI had right here, but I think that would have been fatal. They basically left the gate open, and for some reason or other, they were all crowding on the walls like there was fucking money raining down over there or something. Stupid assholes. Still, I don't think this is going to work because what I was explaining earlier is when you have the AI in a castle siege like this, usually what they do is they charge the gate and they do a decent job of charging the gate, right? They basically have a mass of troops near the gate in a shield wall or in some kind of glob formation, and as the enemy comes up, they charge fairly offensively. I still think that's a failed strategy. Now, this is something that I did until maybe 4 or 5, 6 months ago for like a year and a half. And probably a lot of you guys watching this, I would just have my units at the gate, and as soon as the enemy came close to the gate, I'd have them charge. There's a better way, and I'm going to show you that way in this episode. If you don't want to wait for it, I can just spare you the time, the waiting. The way to do it is to form a square. A square is much more effective because that's highly defensible, and not have them charge. You actually don't mind at all if the enemy kind of sneaks around the edges of the square, because what happens is then they get mangled by your ranged units. Now again, I'm kind of speeding this up here. I'll continue to sort of explain what's going on here, but I want to see if the AI effectively fails, and I want to see if we can essentially provoke a failure in this castle defense using what I consider sort of standard tactics. Have a big group of infantry at the door there like that, and then charge the enemy. Now you see our archers are in a really good position here. It's hard to throw javelins at 3x speed or whatever we're at right now. I'm going to make myself look silly. But again, the reason I'm doing this fast forward is so that this isn't an hour and a half episode. It's already probably going to be 30 or 45 minutes. All right, so the enemy continues to pour in here. It's trickling in on the ladders, though, and this is part of the reason this citadel is so easy to defend. You don't mind them coming up the ladders, right? They get mauled by archers. Your archers in the courtyard here, of course, can't be hit by any of the troops coming up those onto the ladders until they're on the ladders. And by the time they're on the ladders, those guys are in really bad news. It's bad news for the enemy, right? They're going to get shot by 50 archers that can all focus their attacks on those guys. I'm going to get killed here if I'm not careful. Just got a bunch of reinforcements coming in here. I think I'm actually going to put Zuvan towards the back of the map in this episode. Inexplicably, the AI is pouring a bunch of archers onto the walls. I don't know why they're doing that either. And again, I'm glad they're doing dumb shit, because that was the purpose of this interlude, is to show you that if you're just relying on the old F6, right, sergeants take control, right, if you're just running around as a captain or whatever in this battle and you're letting the AI do most of the job, you're going to find that oftentimes when you engage the AI, it slams your Tesla into a wall and everybody's killed. I might even get those archers off the wall. That's just so stupid. They're being butchered by infantry. They're being shot by archers down in the ground level. I can't handle it. I just can't handle the stupidity. So we're going to back these archers into the courtyard. The more archers you have in the courtyard, the better, because the enemy has to come down into that courtyard and onto the walls facing those courtyards with no protection, and they just get completely immolated by archer fire. I've mentioned it a couple, 3 times that this citadel is extremely well designed. The reason is because it's at an uphill slope. That means those units there in the courtyard can fire over the head of your shield wall at the gate and just completely rake the archers that are trying to get in, right? They get an absolute volley and it's in a tight area, right? So all of the arrows and crossbow bolts are flying into the enemy there. Even if they're in a shield wall, it's just immolating fire, right? They get absolutely scorched. Now, here's another thing I want to show you. Notice these guys pouring in. What they did is they held a shield wall until they had like 10 or 15 guys. Now they're all charging at once. You need to be aware of that as a commander. If you see the enemy exhibiting strange behavior, like a bunch of their troops are all running into a tower somewhere, you should be aware of that. You should be concerned about that, because likely they are rallying troops to assault you in one big wave. Now they're also breaking down our infantry here. This is just infantry that the unit had at the gate. So we will do what most players do in this situation, which is charge. The problem with that is that means that this defense starts to spread out. You can see it sort of getting thinner and thinner as those guys charged. And the enemy is now starting to overwhelm it, right? Instead of these guys trying to plug that gate, which is what you want to do, these guys are now all trying to fight. And they're getting kills, but they're also just losing the slow war of attrition, right? This siege is over. The militia has now been brought in because it's gotten so ugly. And just like that, because we had the main gate got breached, what looked like a very successful defense is now over, right? This is, I guess I could call this version the easiest way to lose a siege, is to charge with your infantry at the gate. You don't want to charge, you want to form a square. So you see what happens when the AI is in charge here. We all get killed. The Tesla slams into the wall. I recommend you take charge. All right, so this final run here, I'll take charge, right? We'll take the steering back from the Tesla here. Enough of this clown AI butchering things here. And I will show you how a very experienced field commander defends Veron Castle. Of course, a lot of this stuff's going to be familiar to the guys who watch our Epic Siege series. There's no question I've gotten Siege down to a science, and I think we're going to be able to have dramatically better results. Of course, we left the AI in charge last battle, and what happens? They fucking lost, right? You know, your forces are swept away, you're taken prisoner, you're rotting in some dungeon somewhere. Very disastrous results. Even an auto-resolve would have been better than letting the AI actually take charge on the battlefield. Now, the other time where we destroyed the ram, of course, we were successful. But again, that's not something that the AI is going to do. Most of the time in Keep Siege, the enemy does not, or not the enemy, the allied AI will not destroy the ram. So basically, your only result to win so far in this situation would be to auto-resolve. And who the fuck wants to auto-resolve, right? I don't honestly, unless you're in a hurry or it's a lopsided battle, I don't know why you would auto-resolve an amazing siege like this. So we actually have two catapults. One of them's damaged, but that's fine. Of course, we'll use normal player damage. We don't need any handicaps here in this third run. We have plenty powerful defense force, and I'm pretty sure that using techniques that I don't want to say perfected, but using techniques that I have highly refined, we are going to massacre the enemy. Now, you see there's catapults here. In a perfect world, I think I would put both catapults over the center gate, right? That way there's more fireballs to throw down on the enemy. But I'm going to show you what to do effectively if your catapult is not in the correct position. I'm basically gonna, I'll show you. It's a sacrifice, essentially. So we're gonna have 8 divisions in this battle. I'm gonna have 3 infantry divisions, the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, and they're all gonna be very distinct divisions with different jobs, with different units. And notice how I'm assigning these units, right? The 1st is your standard spear and shield infantry. Your 2nd is javelin throwers, and the 3rd is high-level shock troops. Now, of course, we're assigning captains. That makes sense. Look at this guy's banner and look at his stats, right? He has a huge list of perks. These guys with decreased taken melee attack damage, those guys will defend our 2 primary infantry divisions. And then Zuvan, I could put him in charge of the 4th, either the 3rd or the 4th. He can be in charge of either the shock troops. We actually don't have a ton of shock troops. Shock troops are your units with 2-handed weapons. In this army, we have a lot of guys with shields and spear. So it makes more sense probably to put him in charge of the 4th division. The 4th division will be a hybrid division. And all of the other divisions, I mean the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, will all be archer divisions. Archers that I can put in different locations. The 5th, by the way, just to be a little bit more refined, the 5th will also be a crossbow division in case we need to use them to jam the gate, right? It just gives us essentially a break glass in case of emergency option. The 6th, 7th, and 8th can all just be straight archer divisions, and it doesn't really matter how many archers are in them, just a decent amount. And that's so that we can get different angles on the enemy when they're coming in, right? Different guys shooting at different angles. Think of it like a paintball game or laser tag or any kind of game like that. Now we want to give them good banners, right? But we also want to pair them with captains that are not incompetent. Some of my captains are brand new here. Some of these captains are veterans, right? So we want to put good veterans in charge of them. In fact, we'll put Zuvan in charge of this hybrid division, the 4th division with infantry and archers. And the reason you do that, infantry and archers, is that that division can still charge. Now your other archer divisions, I want, let's see what's going on here. I want Gweth in charge of the 5th. A few of my veteran archers, they have increased ranged attack damage, right? This is a really good banner for your archers to have. The other one that's nice, of course, is still either increased melee damage or decreased taken melee damage. More than likely, we're not going to get shot, so I don't bother with things like decreased ranged attack damage. Now I will put... Yeah, I might put some archers on the wall, but it won't be like the AI does, right? We're not going to put archers on the main wall there where they're highly vulnerable and get shot to pieces. All right, so we're going to get these guys out of the way. The 1st division is going to be our primary square at the gate. In a square, not a shield wall, in a square. That's because I want them defended even if they get attacked from the sides. The enemy's hopefully going to come around the sides of these guys at some point, sort of surging in like ooze around an opening that's slightly occluded. And as they surge around, these skirmishers will let loose javelins and throwing axes and whatnot. On the other side, we'll put the 3rd division, which is shock troops and other strong infantry. They can help collapse and close that side off. What we're effectively doing here is the old Lucy with the football joke. If you're not familiar with the Charlie Brown reference, we're essentially allowing the enemy the same notion of a false gap in a defensive infantry scheme, where the enemy thinks that there's an opening, and as soon as they try to put their hand through the opening, it gets smashed by a hammer. Now the archers over there, that's going to work beautifully. That's 7th Corps. Some of those guys on the wall will probably get killed, but the rest of the archers here, all I'm doing is kind of giving these guys angles to shoot the enemy as they come in, right? These guys are elevated above the guys at the gate. I don't like putting guys up here, by the way. You can, but if you zoom down here, and I like to try to get right down to their level and basically hold the camera where their head level is. I can't seem to get it precisely where their head level is. You'll have to just trust me on this one. They can't shoot. These guys have like a fucking masonry wall right in their fucking way for some reason. Some dipshit built that wall there, or they got a pot. Now you can use these other side areas here, but they're not very effective either. You can see they can't really shoot a lot of the enemies that are going to be part of the main action here. The courtyard is where the action is. That's where we want most of our archers. In fact, you can put another archer division here. I like them a little distance away though from the gate. That way it takes a while for the enemy to approach these guys. Even right there is a little vulnerable from the guys coming down on the wall, but it doesn't matter too much as long as most of this is done pretty much like I'm showing you here. This is not the best way to defend a castle. Actually, I don't know if I can say that. Maybe this is the best way, but I'm not going to say that, right? In most societies, Western culture societies, we value humility, so we'll just say that this is a highly successful way to defend a castle. All right, so these archers here are skirmishing a little bit with the enemy crossbow. This battle, I'm probably going to play slow-mo the whole battle. This is effectively going to be almost like a midweek Epic Siege series, right? Actually, I don't know when I'm going to release this, but our Epic Siege is usually Saturday. This is like a bonus edition. So I'm just raining these fireballs down because I don't know if you see what's going on here. Because I left the catapult there, these guys are getting killed. Now I'm going to let a few of them die, but this is what you should do about this. This catapult is a death trap for your units. Destroy it. And I know you're like, wait a minute, why would you build a catapult and destroy it? Because I want these fireballs. These fireballs are only there if you build that catapult. And now we have 2 giant piles of these fireballs. Everything that comes up on this ladder over here is going to get smoked. Now again, I'm not going to kill the ram. Of course, we could kill the ram. I could also aim for their siege tower, but in this battle, I think we'll let them have it, right? They can have a siege tower. We'll give the enemy essentially every advantage here to try to get into our castle. In other words, we'll simulate that you fucked up trying to destroy the ram. You fumble fucked and couldn't destroy the siege tower, and we'll try to recover effectively from that disaster. Now you want to rain in some fireballs here on their units coming in, right? If you're not destroying the ram or the siege tower, at least make sure you get some kills here. These fireballs, once you dial in their accuracy, are pretty lethal. The angle here, admittedly, is not great. Like, we're firing over the head of the enemy, and I'm not even sure. Some of those guys are getting shot and killed over there. I see the death spam, but it's tolerable losses. I'm not even sure. Yeah, so we can't even hit these troops anymore with this catapult. So what do we do here, right? We get our LeBron James free throw shooting action on here. We rain this shit down, and I think they're in range. Yeah, they're in range. At this stage, we can start killing the enemy en masse. These guys with the catapult probably won't fire much because, well, okay, never mind. They had an angle I didn't find. So beautiful. We're both working, right? And critically, they're protected, right? These guys are not getting shot to death on their catapult like those other dipshits. Now, we're LeBron Jamesing these shots in. These guys are getting some nasty, looks like they're shooting almost sideways here with their catapult, and they're killing scores of guys as well. And don't forget, I have that whole other pile of these Greek fire, whatever, fireball, fire catapult balls. Well, you see, there's the danger of turning that catapult too much. That guy took an arrow to the jaw or whatever. He got killed too. You see the danger of having archers on the walls here, right? So I'm going to throw the rest of these fireballs before too many archers over here get killed. And look at my target, right? It's just this juicy, huge bank of sharpshooters. Now you're like, oh shit, you're already out of fireballs, man. There's guys on the ladder coming up. Don't forget, because we destroyed this catapult over here, we have this whole nother juicy pile of these fireballs just to rain death on the enemy. I mean, this is just a dream situation. These guys are getting shot by archers. I got to be a little bit wary because, of course, if you don't know, even just the tiniest hit, little arrow shot, will make you drop these fireballs to the ground. At least it doesn't kill you. This guy coming after me. But unfortunately, if they just swing a little tiny sword at you, even if it doesn't do much to you, you end up dropping the fireball and it's worthless. You can't pick it back up. So just something to be aware of. When you're holding these little precious fireballs, and I'm throwing my javelin right through the helmet of these guys, you want to take advantage of it, right? And at this stage, we're not killing that many troops because we've destroyed this entire flank. All of those troops over there are dead. All right, so here's the gate. Let me show you the gate action here. We'll zoom in and fire some javelins down in there. Now, I just told the 2nd Division right below me here to fire at will. And what I'm going to do to help these guys is move the square the other way. All those guys in the square are just holding their shields up, trying to survive. And our javelin throwers are going to town on them. I mean, you can just see them obliterating the enemy down there. We can sneak in a few fireballs here. God damn it, these guys keep chasing after me. Fucking asshole. Coming after the Jarl. There you go. You got shot in the head. A few more guys are coming up here. I'm going to let this group compact a little bit more, score a couple more major kills here, and then we will get back to the gate. But these javelin throwers, nothing can survive coming in the gate. Between that crossfire, all of these archers, and those javelin throwers, they have no chance. You can see another big group is piling up there on the gate. We're finally out of fireballs, right, after I blew up half their army. And now we can start mangling people with our mace here, right? We're just going to knock them all over the place. And guess what? Oh, we got even more fireballs here, right? The enemy's all compacted there. Now they're chasing me a little bit here, so we'll come back to those rocks. And actually, they've made a little charge attempt here because they had the siege ram over here, or the siege tower. They have a lot of troops pouring up over here. No problem. We charge with the archers and tell them to hold fire. What that does is that initiates all of those 40 archers to charge. And now we're going to bring this 3rd Infantry Division, this shock troop division. If you remember, I mentioned that earlier. They're right behind me. We can bring these guys in here as well. Of course, I'm in here supporting them, right? We're going to be a fucking brave leader, not some coward commanding from the citadel. Admittedly, drinking some wine and watching the troops dominate would be fun too. But I'd much rather smash people with my hammer, especially because it's a video game and I can't be killed. All right, so we're waiting in here. The 2nd Division is in auxiliary. They're in reserve on the other side there. I can charge at them anytime I want. Over here, of course, the archers are smoking everything in sight. In fact, let's move back these guys up just a bit. Come with me, boys. Those guys can be a little safer there. The gate is totally smoked. Over here now, the 3rd Corps is mauling people. Let's charge with the 2nd and pull the square towards me. That'll expose the enemy's backs to all of these troops. And the beatdown is on, right? This is an absolute thrashing in action. Anytime they get close to me, I just back up and there's arrows whizzing over my head to smoke any pursuers. We pound these guys to death with our hammer. None of them are looking at me because they're trying to deal with our square. They're being charged on the other side by the 2nd Division. And I don't think I've seen a death in like 3 minutes. It's pure enemy death spam. Just the death feed of green, just almost as fast as the screen can contain it. We lost like 1 or 2 guys there. And this very tough enemy, keep in mind, this is not a weak enemy, right? This is an elite enemy, is being completely immolated. Let's bring this 3rd Division over here, a false gap attack, charge, destroy everything in sight, but victory is ours. We'll put these guys back in a shield wall, reset them, pull the 3rd Corps back, reset those guys, and you can rinse and repeat at this stage. Honestly, I think if there were 10,000 enemies attacking right now, we would win. We might even be able to take 20,000. In fact, I wish that was a thing. And there is a guy actually who keeps reminding me to get a mod that does allow the AI to have like unbelievably big armies. So maybe we'll try that someday where they have 30 or 40,000 enemies or something like that, and I'll take a piss break or something mid-battle because it'll just be like a 2-hour thrashing. But the point is that I don't think this defensive setup that we have can be defeated. You see, they're not even getting any kills. Now I've charged with the 2nd and 3rd Division because I'm eager to throw some more rocks on the head of the enemy here. I just love this shit. Of course, the engineer who put them back here where I can't reach them should be shot. But look at these guys now. Now they're all jammed up at the gate. The square is holding, and the enemy is jammed up because I charged with the 2nd and 3rd units. Now, the 2nd and 3rd units are well positioned because they're attacking the enemy on the side there. The enemy's still getting shot by archers from above. Skirmishers are throwing javelins. I'm throwing rocks down here. It would be hard to design and to have a more savage situation than the enemy's in right there. You see one death every once in a while. Besides that, the enemy is just totally immolated. We'll reset our units here another time and just continue this death trap until the enemy's gone. In fact, everybody's cheering because the enemy is gone. They have routed, and that was a total beatdown. Now look at this gal here. This is one of my low-level companions. She probably didn't do shit. Of course, these archers always claiming a bunch of glory. You fucking glory mongers didn't do shit. Didn't even fucking pull your sword out. But I guess we can forgive her since she's like level 12. And look at this pile of bodies that we left at the gate, right? Of course, we smoked a lot on the walls as well. We killed a lot at the ladders outside. Zuvan must have killed 200 guys just with fireballs and rocks alone. And this is a textbook destruction of an enemy, a powerful enemy. 32 losses, including 8 deaths against, what was it, 20? I can't remember exactly, 2,300 or 2,100 Valandians or some shit like that. And very powerful Valandians, and they got completely dismissed. So here you go, friends. That was a perfect battle, actually, for the 4th segment of this. This is how you can defend your citadel, right? Do you want the AI to be in charge where you lose, or do you want to completely eviscerate the enemy and have fun doing it, right? Don't use the auto-resolve. Do destroy the ram if you're really desperate to win, or maybe you have less defenders than we have here. But by all means, right, you guys can set up this defense. Not every castle is built the same. I should sneak this part in. Obviously, if all the castles were the same, it would actually get a little boring. In our Epic Siege series, we are covering virtually every single castle design out there, every castle and city design out there. I'm going to have probably, 30 episodes before that series is wrapped up. Or maybe more, I guess, depending on how popular it is. This is a beautiful castle here. We'll do a little blimp mode as we conclude this episode. I didn't cover every single conceivable thing on Siege, like pushing ladders away and stuff like that. But frankly, after that battle, friends, what more do you need to know, right? That was an incredibly destructive end to this episode. So please subscribe, of course, if you want to see more from this series. Please comment and all that good stuff. I appreciate you, fellas. And I will talk to you guys next time.